Continue your bus to journey onward by Master Atlan, Chapter 62. Oh, we always by your side. So what's it like? So what's it like going on actual missions? Oh, well, our first time I was filled with butterflies and goosebumps and everything else I used to explain anxiety. Coco tells me my ears were shaking so much it looked like I had 3 sets on my head. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. The fashionista in question said with a cheeky smirk. I have video footage to prove how great it was. Anyways, there I found frowned at her leader's teasing before looking back at her underclassmen. Now it isn't as nerve-wracking as the first time. Still a little jittery when you land in an unfamiliar area with the job of either protecting civilians or taking out Grim. But you get used to it. Beloved shrugged with a smile. I'm sure you all have it easy for your first mission in a few weeks. From what the rumors say, I bet they've already got some secret mission experience down, huh? The red-wearing girl sent a wink back at Ruby and Noctix as they walked along the campus with their upperclassmen. Coco! But I'm not teasing them or anything. And she defended herself against the silent and stoic glare she received from Fox and Yasuhashi. I think it's awesome. Ballsiest first years in a while, and the toughest ones that don't even got balls. Gotta respect the ones running into the flames. Tenten chuckled. Stories about our adventures were wildly exaggerated, like you're in school grounding. Fox spoke up. That was due to some unruly behavior. Kiba deflected. You know, teacher, so we cause rookies at school, so their obvious answer is to force us to stay at school. The rookies at the docks, Yatsu raised them. Just doing our civic duty, Blake shrugged. But what about the fight that put Naruto into the hospital? Velvet added. Well, that was something different, but we're not always trying to look for a fight. Naruto answered to alleviate some of Velvet's worry. I agree. Weiss nodded. Despite some of our less than reputable actions, we aren't willingly going out to find trouble and fighting people. Yeah, sure you aren't, Coco smirked. Velvet told me about the video Naruto showed her. I'm impressed with the set of lungs you got on you, princess. You showed other people! Weiss shrieked like a banshee as she turned on the fox. It's just 2 or 3. The wizard boy's ears dropped on his head as he carefully stepped back, his hands up defensively in case she pounced. Yang snagged Weiss under her arm before she could leap. You ungrateful rascallion! When I get my hands on you, I will! Easy, Weiss. Nothing's gonna be accomplished if you scratch at his eyes. Speak for yourself. You kids definitely make this school more exciting. Coco laughed as she watched the younger students reach and snark at each other. Well, as much as killing Grim sounds, I'm more looking forward to what happens after we come back. Oh, Yang was so excited that she dropped Weiss unceremoniously and grinned. You're talking about the dance, right? It's so cool. It's gonna be so much fun. Yep, and yours truly is the boss in charge of it all, Coco proudly stated with a glint in her sunglasses. The brunette smirked. There'll be the best music and everyone will wear the greatest outfits, and if any of you come without a date, I'll take it as personal insult. Naruto scratched his head. What if we don't want to go to the dance? We're all going. Naruto and Sasuke looked at Tenten's expression and saw she was unwavering in her stance. But what if we don't? You will. But not all of us, right? Yang and Weiss stared at Ruby. I mean, those dresses look so stuffy, and it's gonna look weird in my boots. And what if my boots get caught? Not going to be a problem. Ruby beamed with joy before Yang finished, because you aren't wearing your coat and you're wearing appropriate shoes. But Weiss glared. No, but oh, that's cute. They think they get a choice. Coco guffed. Look, kids, you're gonna come and you're gonna dance, and it's gonna be a magical night, and Naruto's gonna dance with Velvet. And I'm gonna film the whole thing. Why did you involve me in this? Shut up. I'm negotiating for you. Oh, hey. Kiba raised his hands. No argument from you either. I'm not arguing. I already have a date in mind. And some of the girls nodded their approval at his prideful boast before the tattooed boy pointed behind him. I'm just worried about whatever the hell that is. The group of young hunters looked over and saw the small crowd start to filter out of the academy's entrance. They spotted Glinda marching in a hurry through the courtyard with a frown on her face, and following and not far behind her was an equally annoyed man dressed head to toe in white garments and underwear metals. Was that General Ironwood? Weiss muttered. Did he look perturbed to anyone else? If by perturbed you mean about to pop a blood vessel and not even notice, then yeah, perturbed he did look. Mr. Uzumaki, the students looked over to see Aspen making his way out as well, and while his steps were much more even and controlled, the urgency in his movements was clear. I'm glad to see you, Professor Aspen. What's going on? It's easier to see it for yourself. The white-haired man motioned them to follow. I believe you're familiar with some of our guests. The group of students made their way over to the docks and slipped into the large crowd of people around Naruto and the others filtered through and pushed into the front of the pack along with the patient Aspen and an irritated Ironwood and Goodwitch. The airship was waited before docked. The airship they waited for docked into place and hissed before finally opening. A young woman with long blonde hair tied in a ponytail stepped out. The young lady was dressed in a long-sleeve jacket and pants as well as black gloves took over her hands. She stepped out onto the ramp and froze when she saw the crowd. Wow, I was not expecting this large reception when we arrived. We come in peace? Oh, thank God, familiar faces. The blonde girl nearly jumped off the ramp and ran up to the only place the only people she recognized. Hey Naruto, hey Tintin, long time no see. What are you doing here? She jerked her head back to the airship as several more footfalls echoed off the metal. I came with them. Several more figures started to make their way off the airship onto the ground. The first coming down was a young lady the same age as Ino with long pink hair and a hairband to hold her hair back. She held a medpack in her hands as an older, taller woman with light blonde hair followed behind her. The older woman looked back as an old man with spiky white hair going down his back slowly stepped off the ramp with another man's arms wrapped over his shoulder. Of course, the last person coming off was someone many people in the crowd recognized. Dad! Naruto panicked at the sight of his father slowly stepping off the airship with clear pain on his face. So with each movement, he pushed past everyone and ran up as Minato touched down. Are you okay? What happened? Hey kiddo. Minato's voice was slightly hoarse, but he put on a smile seeing his son again. Sorry, I've been gone for a while. Got bored while I was away. Dad, he's fine, kid. The older man keeping Minato on his feet answered with a grumble as he hefted the blonde up again. Minato just decided to do something stupid, and now he's paying for it. I don't understand. Naruto sputtered. Who are? It's all right. The older blonde woman finally spoke up and stretched her arms out after the long ride. Minato's still a reckless idiot even after all these years, but he's got him marginally better. He's hurt, but nothing serious. I think I heard him go when he was taking a breath. Like I said, Sakura, marginally better. The blonde woman patted her young pink-haired charger on the back. Go make sure we're ready for him before, okay? The young girl nodded and made her way through the crowd easily. Naruto still looked concerned of his father's condition, but he grew even more concerned when Glinda and Ironwood stepped forward. The aggravated expression on the face of the Adlesian General was enough to make his throat dry as a desert. Fortunately, Osmond stepped forward to alleviate the tension. Joy, Tsunade, glad to see you both again. Hello, Osmond. The buxman blonde greeted the headmaster with a smile. Glad to see you're still the same after all these years. Yes, and I suppose I can say the same after you as well. Well, I hate to brag, but yeah, I pretty much am. Hey, lugging that weight, I hear. The old white-haired man hefted the injured blonde up on his shoulder. Can you two talk about your frankly bullshit youth looks later? I kinda need to drop this guy off somewhere. Right, of course. Osmond nodded and motioned back towards the school. Glinda and Ironwood shared a look before going on ahead. Osmond was prepared to lead his guests in. Oh, wait, Naruto called out as he ran up beside them. I'm coming too. I'll stay in the room. Not a good idea. The wrinkled old man helping Minato shook his head. You'd probably get sucked into the argument that's gonna happen after he's all checked up. And in case you didn't notice, the two buskills looked ready to push out bricks when they saw us. Naruto. The young student's attention was grabbed by his father, who finally spoke up. He looked tired and weary, but he still put on a small smile for his son and nodded. I promise I'll be okay, and we can talk later, so just wait for now, alright? Naruto stood silently and watched his father walk off with help from his friends. He stood there in silence before he felt a pat on his shoulder and a reassuring word from Kiba that things would be okay. The Fox Fathers watched his father leave in silence before relenting and falling back with his friends. Hunting, glasses, and a blouse, and skirt, and glasses. You wore all that? Pierce's face steadily grew redder at the question from Nora and the look she was getting from her teammates. The champion shuffled in her seat and bore a hole through her cheeks with how intensely she was looking at them. I was trying to avoid any of the people that might follow me or pester me in the streets. It was Ten's idea, and she picked out the clothes for me to hide in. Oh, I'm sure those were her only reasons. Nora muttered knowingly before turning to her red-headed friend. I need pictures. I demand pictures. I must have proof. I didn't take any pictures of myself. I did. The blonde hair off the scroll. Here you go. There you are. Narcotics and Ruby made it back to the cafeteria and saw Juniper sitting with their visitor. Tintin smiled as she sat beside the blonde tourist. We lost track of you after we saw Mr. Namakase come off the bulkhead. The pretty girl giggled. Yes, sorry to run off, but this is my first time in Beacon, and I couldn't help myself from looking around. Luckily, I found Pyrrha and her team in my aimless wandering, and told them about our little adventure with their leader. Actually, Pyrrha spoke up and gestured to the tall boy sitting beside her. John here's the leader of Team Juniper. He is? Seriously? Gawked and looked him over before chuckling meekly. Sorry about the misunderstanding. It's just when I think of the leader of your team, I imagine... And not, yeah, I get it, John hung his head sadly as Nora reached over to pat his shoulder. Not the first one to make that mistake. Well, if we're done bruising his already shattered ego, Weiss spoke up, sitting up in her chair properly before looking at the platinum blonde newcomer sitting with them. I don't think we've been properly introduced yet. You're right, should probably get back to that. Hi everyone, my name is Inon Yamanaka. I'm from Mistral and I work with Naruto's dad as a kind of internet Skigan. You work at Skigan? Weiss's voice jumped up a few decibels and got the attention of everyone around them. The hair's interest in the new guest burned with the new fervor as she straightened out and nodded her head. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. My name is Weiss Schnee. I've been following Mr. Namakase's work very closely recently. He's truly a great huntsman, one anyone our age would aspire to be. I quite enjoy his seminars and applications of our abilities in preparation for the real challenges we may face are truly remarkable. So tell me, what's it like working at such a prestigious company like that? Ino blinked and tried to process the words Weiss had sputtered off so quickly before scratching her cheek. I mean, it's pretty cool, she shrugged. Nice people and everything. That's it. Ino isn't actually a hunter or even studying for one. Her dad works with mine because they were on the same team. A little mirth returned to Naruto's face as he juggled. You're not gonna get any pull sucking up to her. That wasn't my intention. Weiss indignantly hissed while crossing her arms. Unfortunately, her pale skin betrayed her with the color of pink filling her cheeks while her friend snickered. Naruto's chuckling halted before he remembered the question burning in the front of his mind. He turned to Ino desperately. Ino, what happened to my dad? Why was he so hurt? And who are all those people with you? They were other workers of our dads at Segan. The tall blonde lady was Tsunade, the company medic and doctor. The pink-haired girl was my friend Sakura, her apprentice and assistant. And the guy helping your dad walk was Jiraiya. Why didn't we see them when we were at Skigan? I mean, I spent 2 weeks there before coming back here. Well, when Tsunade isn't at the office batching people up, she likes to go out in the town, usually drinking and gambling, and after that she drinks more and gambles more, and things kind of spiral out of that, and we usually find out she's gotten herself into a serious debt that she needs to work off, and Sakura's usually the poor sap that gets dragged down with her since she became her apprentice. It used to be Shizune who followed her around all the time, but when she was offered the job as office secretary, she jumped at the chance to cut herself off. Okay, and what about the old guy? Oh, Jiraiya actually doesn't work at Skigan. Ino shrugged. He's like an associate or a contractor or something, but Mr. Minato knows him pretty well. But I hear my dad complain with the others about how they always have to bail him out of jail or help him with some bill or other things that aren't pretty. Weiss gaped. You can't be serious. I am. This is Skigan, one of the most respectable and influential new hunter companies in recent years, and that's their staff. Well, we also have 2 really fat guys that can't stand not eating food, 2 guys that are brilliant but can't be bothered getting off their butts, and one of our most talented field agents is a sociopathic snake faunus that threatens us if we touch her snakes. Yang patted the hare's shoulder. Never meet your heroes. But why did they need to come here, and why was Mr. Namikaze so hurt? Don't know. Gave an uncertain look. We just got a call from Jirai that he didn't need Mr. Nadi's help real quick, and when we came out here, when we found them, your dad was already beat up and had already received some minor treatment. I don't know how it happened. That answer left a sour taste in Naruto's mouth, and it almost meant he was going to have to press on when he got a chance with his father. But after a moment, his eyebrow quirked him. Wait, if those two are medics and the old guy was with my dad, why are you here? Vacation, grinned while pulling on the fingers of her gloves. I wasn't going to pass up the chance to come to Dale for the first time in my life. Joji didn't have enough treats to sustain him through the flight, and Shikamaru is still a lazy jerk, so here I am alone. Hey, we're here with you, Tenten reassured her visitor, so you don't have to worry about being bored. Just don't ask us to take you into the city, because we're kind of grounded at the moment. Aw, thank you. Patted Tenten's hands before she gasped and giggled. Well, I'm flattered, but it's clear you have eyes for another. What, Tenten yanked her hand back from Ino's like it had been burned, and her cheeks seemed to be heating up as well as she glared at the laughing blonde. That's not fair, Ino. You can't do that. Just having a little fun. Hey, Naruto, you want another round? Naruto's hand shot up over his head to keep as far away from her reach as possible. You're lost, Pyrrha. Pyrrha sat on her hands and blushed. Don't even think about it. Blake spoke up with a quizzical look. Could we have some context? Don't let Ino touch you. She can read people's minds when she touches people directly. Naruto aimed a spiteful glare at the giggling girl who flexed her fingers in his direction. Nothing gets by her. She can read minds. No way. Of course, his warning went completely ignored as Nora beamed an excited smile and nearly jumped out of her seat to offer her hand. Do me, read my mind. Ino shrugged before fulfilling her volunteer's request and taking her hand. I'm a cake, I'm a yummy cake to bake and frost on. Oh, how great. You can have me for your dinner. You can have me for your lunch. You can have me for your... Ino's hand shot back and she stared at the pleasant ginger for a moment. She pressed into her hand again. Breakfast, you can have me for brunch. I'm a cake, a yum cake. Ino pulled her hand back and stared at Nora for a moment. She blinked a few times and then looked around at odd, expectable stares. So... anyone else? Was it that bad? Not bad. Just hard to explain. Okay, I guess I'll give it a try. Yang banged over and offered her hand. I'm kind of skeptical though. All we've seen you do is stare at Nora and then shiver, so not much different from usual. Placed her hand in the larger grasp of the brother and closed her eyes. There's no way this actually really real, right? I mean, all that crazy stuff we see and now mind reading is possible. She just looks constipated. Opened her eyes and Yang watched curiously. Did she? No. She was just looking at me. If there was a pattern, raised her eyebrow, raised the other one, complied. Okay, now, do we have to? Pulled her hand and smirked at the surprised fighter. I think it's pretty clear I got in your head. Yang plopped down in her seat with a small pout before she looked around. Anyone else? Oh, me. Ruby jumped at the chance and offered her hand to the ponytail girl. Took her tiny appendage in hers and listened closely. Oh, what should I think about it? Probably something cool or profound. Hi, I'm Ruby Rose. No, don't just say your name. That's stupid. Wait, she doesn't know your name, so it might not be so stupid after all. Okay, introduction out of the way. What next? Yang and Dad always tell me to stick up to strike up a conversation, but a conversation in my head it just kind of goes straight at guns and weapons. Do you like guns and weapons? Wait, the stupid thing to ask. How am I screwing up a discussion in my head? Okay, who is this adorable mess and where can I get one? Ruby shuffled her chair awkwardly at Ino's playful teasing before looking around. Anyone else for reading? They laughed, but no one offered. Oh, come on, I didn't scare all you brave hunters away so easily, did I? Hey guys, sorry we're late. Had business with the team. Asked them to go out and grab us some supplies. Seeing as we're still under arrest or whatever. You miss us? Sun and Neptune walked up to join their friends before they spotted the new addition. Who's the cutie? A mischievous smile crossed many of the dozen's faces as Naruto stood up with a grin. Right on time, guys. This is my friend from Mr. Ino Yamanaka. Don't be rude and introduce yourselves. Oh, alright. The Sun showed off his perfect grin and shook the pretty young lady's hand while his tail swayed behind him. Name's Wukong. Pleasure to meet you. And you too. Ino offered her hand and Sun eagerly took it. After a moment, she giggled to herself herself before looking back at Naruto. Looks like he's got the same thoughts as you. Naruto blushed, Tenten and Imperial laughing under their breath, and son Tilton, he said before she stepped up to the tall boy beside him. And how about you, Lady Killer? Well, my name is Neptune Vasilisa. The blue-haired boy gently took her hand. And might I just say, oh wow, that's cheesy. You should skip that one. What? Nope, not that one. Not that one either. Oh, that one has some potential, but I think it's wasted on me. Scrunched up her face before shaking her head and patting his shoulder empathetically. They'll work for you someday, so don't give up yet, okay? I'm confused. Their friends had burst into a fit of laughter, and the partners couldn't help but feel like they were center of it. I really don't like this. Why do I suddenly feel embarrassed with the urge to curl up into a ball? Okay, anyone else up for a try? Amidst the good-natured laughter, Ino spotted one face that, while showing a small smile, was less animated than the others. Ino put on her best smile and strolled up to the young man. How about you, handsome? Scared to see what I find bumping around in your head? Sasuke received some jeering and challenging whoops from his friends, but he shook his head. Not really. I can't say you'll find any interesting thoughts. Oh, don't sell yourself short. I promise not to wreck anything while I'm in there. Offered her hand. Tempted? His friends started chanting and waiting for the result, all except one who narrowed their eyes balefully at the look was giving her new target. Before he simply shrugged and took her hand, closed her eyes and focused while Sasuke watched her silently. His thoughts weren't straying too far, and he couldn't think up anything clever. So she should finish up quickly. But his eyes scrunched up a little tighter before she opened them and looked down at Sasuke oddly. She lifted her hand back. What? Is something wrong? Anything we can use as an eye start or for fun? Embarrassing secrets? Was he thinking about a girl? Yang guarded from a particular sharp elbow jab. She knew was coming. Whether that elbow was covered in white clothing or was something she wasn't paying particular attention to. Well, nothing bad. Just a pitiful whine ended the discussion before it could go any further. As the pink-haired girl shambled forward. Well, there you are. I was wondering when you were going to finally show up. Tired, the girl quickly took a seat, nearly falling unconscious right there as she rested her head. I need a bed or at least something comfortable to pass out on. Those tables are actually kind of cozy. John offered. Thank you. Eyes turned up to for clarification. This is Sakura Haruno, my friend and the practicing medic student at Skigen. She's Miss Tsunade's apprentice. Looked down at the girl who could only let out a tiny groan in response. Touched the back of her neck before nodding. Oh, she's been awake for about a day, so she might fall asleep at any moment. She's been so busy helping patch Mr. Minato up that she hasn't gotten the chance to rest. What happened anyway? She doesn't know. Translated. Apparently, they kicked out of the room whenever the adults want to talk about it. Probably something too big for her pay grade. The pay grade being basically an internship, by the way. Now to set up. So does that mean I can see my dad? Flinched. You should probably wait a little longer. When she left things were getting louder. How loud? Hunting, I can't believe you would do something so idiotic. I believe you had at least a modicum of sense with your experience and career, but apparently that was just a cover for the reckless fool beneath it. The Atlas General physically struggled to stop her from seething, while his face grew redder with anger. It's unfortunate to see this is apparently a family trait. Glinda stood to the side with her arms folded under her chest and her heel anxiously knocking on the floorboards. I'm not sure what I was expecting when you walked up to us and said you need a few days off for personal matters. Here, I believed you simply need a break, or we're going to settle some matters with your company. But no, apparently you're walking out of the campus with your gear on and weapons packed for war. That rig went up in flames. There's nothing left there to salvage or use. That's millions and millions or dust just vanished. Forget about the White Fang robberies. That might just risk draining the kingdom of its dust for months to come. Do you have anything to say for yourself? Well, I didn't actually cause that damage. The injured man said as he sat up in his bed. It was more malfunction equipment and the White Fang. The scowls on their faces didn't fade. And when Minato looked at Osman, he only found the headmaster standing by the door and away from getting caught in the commotion. He then then looked over to his doctor only to see Tsunade shaking her head and crossing her arms. His last resort was turning to his former guardian and mentor for most of his adolescent life. Not me, Jiraiya chuckled. I helped you put you to bed. Now you get to clean up shit from it. Of course. What was he expecting? Don't act like you're absolved of any of this. Tsunade said her raised her voice and glared at Jiraiya angrily. You were the one who gave him that intel in the first place, weren't you? At Jiraiya's silence, Tsunade gave a sharp sigh. I can't believe this. You know what he was going to use it for, did you? Yep, and that's exactly why I did it. And that shouldn't be something that surprises you. Jiraiya looked Tsunade in the eyes unflinchingly as the blonde woman narrowed a little deeper. The old huntsman then looked around the room and saw the look he was getting from the others. What? And how exactly did you come around to getting this information on the White Fang and vigilante group of Uchiha? Ironwood asked. Well, not by means that would be appreciated from the largest military force in the world. Jiraiya shrugged. You know, the scummy places some of us have to go to get what we need. Might these places also be where you get your so-called inspirations for your novels? Maybe. And speaking of places you don't want to get caught in, Mito spoke up. Please don't blame him. It was my request that Mr. Namikaze, this is a large enough dilemma that blame can be spread quite evenly. Glinda warned. You need to stop stalling and try to absolve your acquaintance of blame and start explaining just what happened out there. Mito nodded stiffly and moved himself to better face his audience. Jiraiya contacted me about some information he received about some targets I asked him to look out for. Lucia and White Fang. He looked up at the icy looks he was getting from both Glinda and James before he continued. I made my way out to meet him, and he told me that with some information he gathered, he figured out that both groups would be gathered to that rig. I thought it would be the chance I've been waiting for to capture people on both sides and get some information out of them. When I was sure both sides had arrived, I contacted your platoon and requested their assistance, but I realized that before your men could arrive, the fight would start and finish with both sides evacuating or death before we could catch them. So I decided to act and do what I could to beat some of them before it was too late. Don't do that, Ironwood sharply stated with a scowl on his face, citing me into store with a shake of his head. Don't call on my men and then use the lack of their immediate arrival to justify what you did and how you acted. You could have contacted them sooner and kept them updated about all these changes beforehand for even faster reaction. We could have even planned an ambush and avoided the attack altogether. And I know you thought of that because we have coordinated other such plans when working with your organization. The general's eyes hardened on the injured huntsman. You were just looking for an excuse to indulge in your pursuit of revenge, James. His decision was brash and reckless. He attacked both groups and focused entirely on fighting them. The state of the rig and its dust, even the safety of the workers caught in the fight, were probably second in pursuit of that fight. How dare you! Minato yelled and jumped out of the bed. Tsunade and Glinda prepared to catch him if he suddenly toppled over as he stepped up and glared into James' eyes. You have no right to say that I would abandon those civilians just to fight. I surrendered the last chance I had to capture crucial members of the White Fang because people they had taken hostage couldn't find the way out. I really died trying to help them. I gave up my chance to catch the White Fang to finally find something on Danzo Shimura. Anwo took in a deep breath and closed his eyes. Understand your umbrage with our military and our inability to save everyone, and I know you more than most have a platform and reason to feel that way. But the reason I came to Vale is to help. The reason I brought my people here and tried to install some form of trust in the people is to deter threats like the White Fang and Uchiha. That's the problem, James. Minato interrupted and threw his head out. You have the largest forces of power in the whole world, but no matter what you do, you can only react to threats. Your ships might scare them away from the city, but there are still plenty of places for them to attack and more through. They're not scared. They're cautious, but they're still ballsy enough to attack your transports and steal your technology. And the Uchiha move so quickly and through the darkest corners of the underground that no matter how much we try to follow them, we're always one step behind. I wouldn't be surprised that even after the havoc at the rig, they were able to escape your sentries and their search. James didn't respond, staring at Minto in silence before giving a sharp exhale. What do you wish me to do? Even with my forces, we can't be everywhere at once. So as much as it pains me to admit, what else can we do? More, something more. And what would that something more be, Minato? Alright, I think we've had enough heated discussions for one day. Austin finally interjected and placed himself between the both men. He held Minato's shoulder and slowly pushed himself down to sit on the bed. Minato took a seat and realized just how weak his legs had gotten before Austin spoke again. When you told me the White Fang or Uchiha, when you told me you wanted more involvement in any changes with the White Fang or Uchiha, I imagined you meant more along the lines of being present during operations we sanctioned. I'm sorry, Headmaster. This discussion should continue, but perhaps not at this moment. Later, when injuries are healed and tempers are not flared. He looked between the two men and got a response in the forms of mumbled agreements and clicked teeth. I suggest we leave Minato in his room to heal. We should take our leave. Jiraiya Tsunade. Perhaps we should discuss your living arrangements. If you're to stay in Ville for the time being, as exciting as that sounds, I'm gonna have to pass on that right now. Jiraiya stretched and walked past the others for the door. I want to check on something else first, so if you'll excuse me. They stayed at the door after the toad had walked out before Glinda pulled off her spectacles and rubbed her eyes. Did we really just let that man walk out with free reign over our campus? We might want to fix that immediately. Hunting, you have a dance like an actual ball you all go to, dressed in fancy outfits and suits and everything. Swooned in envious look in her eyes. Oh, now that's just not fair. The most I've been to is some stupid dance where the boys and girls were glued to the opposite sides of the gym. Well, the dance might look fancier, but I can pretty much guarantee there will be some people who do the exact same thing, especially with how completely inept some of us are when it comes to functions like that. Ruby shivered. Why do I feel like you're talking about me? Because I was looking straight at you when I said that. But don't worry, you weren't the only one I was thinking of. Naruto couldn't help but feel like he was also lumped into the group, which was totally ridiculous. Sure, Ruby apparently didn't know the meaning of the word tact, and Blake would rather hold herself up in a room than socialize. And Sasuke was about as warm and cuddly as a wet trout, and John was John, but he was different. He just seemed to want to go to the dance because it was stupid. Nothing wrong with that. He grumbled to himself and opened his eyes, only to find all eyes aimed in his direction. His ears flaked back on his head, and he craned his neck back to stare up at the broad figure that appeared behind him. Naruto slowly turned around and gulped before facing the old man. Hold still. The white-haired man stayed as he cupped his chin and leaned down to stare at the whiskered boy closely. Naruto leaned back cautiously before the older man let out a boisterous chuckle. Yep, definitely there, kid. Hey, Mr. Jiraiya. Sakura lifted her head and wiped her tired eyes with a yawn. So how were things settled? Well, darling, things weren't thrown around, and things weren't thrown around, and we made it out in one piece, figuratively speaking. So that's a plus. But the tension's still thick enough that the werewolf could choke in that room, and I'm sure the arguing will continue later. But I'm avoiding that shitstorm as best as I can. It's done. Naruto jumped out of his seat. Does that mean he's still resting doctor's orders? And trust me, that is not a doctor you want to be testing patients with. The old man interrupted before patting Naruto's shoulder. So how about you come with me? I'm sure there are a few things you want to talk about, and feels like I might have something to straighten out as well. Hunting, the young fox Vanius followed the old man outside and into the empty field at Beacon where his dad usually held his class. The space had been vacated since his father left, and had only been used by some students to train lightly or just walk around him. It was pretty much the only place in Beacon that didn't have something important to build on top of it or going on around it, which made the trek here in silence or without any clarification very difficult to stand. He had given his friends and teammates a confused look while following the old man, and then looked at the seeking kids for ideas. Inoue shrugged, and Sakura continued to fight against her desire to nap on the table. So for all he knew about this old guy was that he apparently lived very recklessly, and that his father knew him from somewhere. The first bit was kind of concerning considering the old man's age, but his father clearly trusted him greatly enough with helping him while he was injured. So Alright, let's stop here, Jiraiya suddenly said as they stopped on the far side of the field. The old man rotated his shoulders with a grimace before speaking. So before we start, I guess we should address that this is the first time we're meeting in basically 18 years. Sorry about that, but things have been pretty hectic in my life. I tried to stop by, but your parents were always moving, and I have a life of my own. Plus, there was this period where I had to go into hiding because I asked a politician's daughter to do this thing. Why would you apologize for not meeting me until now? What, did he not ever talk about me? Ungrateful little... the wrinkled man started stomping his foot before sighing. Alright, then again, maybe that was Kushina's decision. As wonderful as I am, I'm more of a role model for puberty-laden, impressionable teenagers, and not so much babies and toddlers in desperate need of structure. But still, you think after raising the little bastard, he'd at least tell his own little bastard about me? Naruto stood in silence as he tried to comprehend the old man's muttering, and the pieces started to connect. He looked at the older man in disbelief. Did you raise my dad? Huh. Yeah, pretty much. Jirai nodded with a smile. I met him once after a big mission, and we just sort of connected. Before I knew that he was eating my food, going off to school, and reminded me just how painfully awkward teenagers can be around the opposite sex. Huh, good times. So that kind of makes you my slightly older uncle, Jirai interrupted. Pretty much. I always thought so anyways. Actually, I was gonna say, Gran, on to more important stuff. Jirai frowned at being cut off again before Jirai stepped up closer and looked down at him. Minato and his team have told me a lot about you. He took a step back, and what have they? The huntsman yelped when Jiraiya's foot came swinging in from the side, and nearly dug into his ribs. He stumbled, but immediately jumped back when Jiraiya's leg chambered, and his foot went kicking out for his chest instead. Naruto fell back on his butt and glared at the smiling man that suddenly attacked him. Jiraiya raised his eyebrow and let out a chuckle before stepping in to strike again. Naruto clambered up to his feet and concentrated his aura into his arms until it was covered in an orange glow. This earned another chuckle from Jiraiya before the old man shuffled forward and sent kick after kick at the young blonde's head. Naruto grunted and continued stepping back as he blocked, dodged. Jiraiya's kicks as best he could. The powerful strikes bounced against the back of Naruto's fist as he grit his teeth against the flurry of heavy blows. He waited for the perfect opportunity for an opening to slip in and hit Jiraiya's back. Unfortunately, the old huntsman's attacks were so quick and vicious that he couldn't find an opening. Did this old guy not take a breath or what? Naruto snapped forward when he saw his opportunity in the form of Jiraiya throwing a lazy punch. The young fox grinned and gripped the older man's wrist as tightly as possible before pulling him to land punch, only to stagger again as the old man pulled and snapped off the huntsman's body completely. Over here! Jiraiya slammed his hand into Naruto's stomach and sent the boy flying off his feet. The whiskered funnels went flying to the air before slamming into the ground and rolling several feet. He dropped the prosthetic and curled up in the grass, clutching his chest and gasping for as much air as he could possibly get. Oh man, that shit never gets old. Jiraiya picked his metallic arm up and placed it back over his stub, turning it and letting it click into place. Once it did, the fingers bent back as far as possible and snapped into place to form a fist. He curled and stretched them out again before looking down at the young man gagging in the dirt. You're right down there. Can't breathe. You pops up. I think I'm dying. You're not dying. Believe me, if that was a strike to kill, then you would be already. The toad said as he looked down at his hand before chuckling at the boy glaring up at him with tear-stained eyes. All right, maybe I've forgotten just how strong I am. Fuck you, Grandpa. All right, no need to get nasty. And Jiraiya helped the boy up to his feet and waited for Naruto to get his breathing back in order. When he did, the only thing Naruto did was scowl at the taller man in spite. Jiraiya huffed. Oh, don't be a baby. You're already back on your feet. I just wanted to see how Minato was training you. Could use some work, but it'll do the trick. What I'm more interested in is seeing that semblance of yours. Naruto raised his eyebrow before holding up his arm and summoning his power. His forearm was clad in orange aura and caused the toad to whistle with excitement. Now that's pretty cool. Even Kushina couldn't do something like that. And you got the idea off of one of the guards working for in the White Fang. Impressive work, kid. Naruto frowned angrily but couldn't stop his ears twitching happily at the praise. But there's still something I want to test with you. The old huntsman stroked his chin and stepped away to search the field. He walked around for a minute before bending down and picking up a stone. He tossed it in his hand and nodded. This'll do. What are you? Catch! Giraffe flicked his wrist and sent the rock flying with a loud burst of sound behind it. Not his eyes widening, and he raised his aura-clad hand to intercept it before he could hit it. He was nearly lifted off his feet and dragged back before catching his breath. What the hell, you shitty old fart! Good, that's a nice response. Giraffe laughed as he tossed another stone in his hand. Now try catching this one. He whipped it through the air, and Naruto had to jump up to catch it over his head. He landed back on the ground and dropped it as the old toad nodded. Very good. Now this next one, you gotta catch it without moving from that spot. Wait! The rock went sailing overhead and far away from Naruto's reach. He looked back and saw more and more stones. Jiraiya threw surrounding the area around him, but nowhere close to him. The blonde frowned. I can't catch them from where I'm standing. Of course you can, Jiraiya yelled. Just use your semblance to catch them. I can't do that. Sure you can. Just do it. I can't. Would you stop throwing the goddamn rocks? Naruto stomped up to the toad with a scowl and pointed at his aura-clad arm. I can't control this like you think. Why not? I don't know, but whatever you know my mom can do, I can't. I can't cover myself in aura. I can't control that power like her Orgara. He held up his arm towards Jiraiya's face. This is the extent of it. This is all I can manage. So stop trying to beware the majesty that bends and changes before your eyes. You've heard the passage from the story before, right? Jiraiya interrupted on Naruto's tirade, much to the blonde's chagrin. The white-haired man started to circle the young fox with a smirk. I didn't actually believe in those crappy stories about the guards or majesties or whatever they were called, but then I saw her do it with my own eyes and I couldn't believe what I saw. She covered herself in red like some terrifying monster. Her arms stretched out and grew in size like something out of a comic book. I swear I saw her form, her aura like chains once, but I might have been drunk for that one. What are you? And you copied this technique from another one of them, right? The one that can strengthen his body and punch like a truck. So you decided that when you copied the technique, you'd use it the same way he did, right? Was that a conscious choice, or did you just not realize what you could do? Jiraiya stopped circling the young man and poked his chest. You and your mother specialize in the manipulation of your aura. You can make your punch a little stronger, but that isn't the extent of what you can do. Stretching, expanding, restricting, morphing into whatever you imagine. You have full reign over your aura, and you never try to use it. I know people that would give 3 kidneys for the chance to use what you have. Sure, you might not be able to go full beast without losing control, but you've already taken the first step by learning how to concentrate your power over just one part of your body. Naruto stared down at his hand. Manipulate my aura. He opened and closed his hand several times before looking back up. But how do I learn that? Well, that's what I was. That is what this is about. Just like how you got your control in the first place. Trial and error. Jiraiya tossed the stones in his hands. If you're up for it, Naruto clenched his fist and glared at the toad down. A bullhead and stubborn. Definitely his boy. Hunting. Minato hissed as he slipped on his shirt over his bandages and pulled it down. He was lucky enough to be moving around with only a little sereneness and fatigue after everything that happened, and after a little nap he was feeling much more rested than he had been just a few hours ago. Tsunade was the closest thing to a miracle worker he had ever met. Unfortunately, all that skill and capability was balanced out by her irresponsibility and quirks. Not like he was going to tell her she couldn't gamble. She wasn't a fighter anymore, but he remembered how far she could send Jiraiya with one punch. There was a knock at the door and Minato sat back up. It's open. The door opened to reveal Naruto standing behind it with a frown on his face, which made Minato laugh at the dirt and dust that covered him as well. And what happened to you? That crazy frog freak kept throwing rocks at me. The younger blonde snarled and dusted himself off. He says it's training, but I think he just likes to throw things at me. Oh, he's training you? Well, he is a very strong and capable huntsman with decades of experience and knowledge to pass on. I was taught by him too, so I can attest to how useful his training can be. Can you also attest to how much of a prolapse in anus he can be? Minato and Naruto stared at each other in total silence before the old blonde blinked and looked around. He seemed wary of anyone that might suddenly appear and listen to the conversation. right? Mito's only response was a small nod and a tiny gap between his thumbs and index fingers. Glad to know I'm not the only one. Father and son shared a quick laugh at their shared opinion of the old toad. Naruto stepped up to Mito's bed and leaned against its frame as he looked over at father. I'm glad to see you healed up. You actually look like you could stand on your own feet now. Yeah, but it might be best not to test that theory just yet. Mito gave us a strangled laugh and gingerly rubbed his ribs when he felt them sting. He looked up just to see his son try to hide the worried look on his face when he saw the pain. Minato gave a sad smile. I'm sorry for making you worry. I'd be angry, but I guess this is what it feels like for you when I was the one in trouble. The young man's frown grew tighter. It definitely feels pretty shitty. If you wanted me to feel even worse about what I put you through, the mission accomplished. Naruto pushed her off the frame and stood across from his father. What happened? I was looking for the White Fang and Bell, and also my Uchiha, and also any Uchiha members. Naruto balked in shock at his father's response, and Mito nodded before continuing. I found out that the White Fang were going to attack a dust rig further south of the city, and the Uchiha were going to be there to intercept them. I thought if I tracked them there, I could catch them, and we could get something out of them. Something about Kushina. Dad, the phone aside, was that how you got hurt? I swear when I thought about all this, my plan was just to catch them, to call Atlas and let them to call Atlas and let them catch them, and that would be the end of it. But then I was there, and the people holding her against her will, and the people that attacked you were right there, and Naruto was at a loss of words and let out a long breath before shaking his breath. I just blanked. I thought up excuses and reasons to try and explain everything, but I just wanted to get back at the people that hurt us, that ruined our world. I'm sorry, Dad, but I was actually there. I could have helped you somehow. Naruto scratched his head with a disgruntled sigh. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's fine. Minato tried to laugh, but it came out half-heartedly before taking a deep breath. I guess getting in trouble really is hereditary. The father wiped his forehead clean before looking back up to his son. So, what's Jiraiya having you learn? He thinks I can control more of my semblance than I originally thought. It says that while I might not be able to ever fully control it, I could at least use some of the properties. He stepped up to the bed and sat beside Minato while rubbing his head. Maybe I can make it extend or grow with enough training, just like your mother. Yeah, just like her. The father and son duo sat in silence before Naruto finally spoke again. Why can't I use my semblance like Mom can? I never asked you because I was sure I wasn't going to like the answer, but you know, don't you? And if not exactly why, then maybe at least a theory or a reason. You know your mother was picked up by Danzo when she was a kid, right? Minato spoke up, cutting Naruto off as he listened. He had been searching for fondness with similar ideals and beliefs as him, and he came across a girl abandoned by everyone and carrying the power of an ancient legend. So he picked her up and taught her everything he could: how to fight, how to read, how to live, and why humans were a danger to fondness, a way of life. He had dreams that one day he might be able to create an army of noble guards, loyal and ready to move at his command, so he could change the status quo and affect the world. And somewhere along the way, he thought Kushina would be the best way to see that plan to fruition. Naruto took a deep breath to control himself, even as his face tightened and shook on his knees. He wanted soldiers to follow his every order and give everything they had to his cause, so he decided that he might be able to modify them somehow. He had already decided Kushina would be the bearer of this future force, so he tried to prepare them as best he could. Stronger bodies from birth, less prone to emotional bouts, susceptible to his feelings. He was giving your mother supplements and treatments under the pretense of making her stronger, but in actuality making the child she would bear the perfect soldiers. He probably would have started doing experiments as well before she figured out what he was doing. With that betrayal, she just ran away and never turned back. She did whatever she could to escape from his reach, and after a while, that's when I met her. A few years later, we fell in love and decided to start a family, but we didn't know that those treatments that she had undergone had made things different. Naruto, when you were born, it was a very complicated birth. You were nearly a month overdue. Your mother was in labor for over a day, and when you finally came out, you barely made a sound. We thought No, we knew that if we didn't do something soon, then we would lose you. Minato sat a little higher, so we did the only thing that could help strengthen and bolster our young body. Aura. Now to touch this chest, you unlocked my aura. We said our chant. We unlocked your aura. We were depressed and prayed for a miracle, and it came when you finally cried. You moved and your skin regained color, and you cried with a layer of aura covering your body. Minato paused. Your mother knew what it meant instantly. She covered herself as well and cradled you into her chest as she cried. You were going to live, but we had affected you forever. You probably don't remember this, but when you were much younger, you used to slip into the form more frequently. You couldn't control it, and you didn't even know what it was. And no matter how hard we tried, we couldn't get you to listen to us while you were like that. Because I couldn't. Most people have the aura and semblance discovered when they're older, when there is more of a consciousness and mind and soul to be harnessed. So your power and body and abilities can develop alongside you. But we did it to you as an infant. Your powers was unlocked and your semblance was realized, and the only thing that defined you was nothing. Just basic instinct, how to move, how to react, how to survive. You would attack what you saw as threatening, and you would only return to normal when you calmed down. I thought when you got older I might be able to train you so you could actually harness your power, but it never changed. Every time you did it, just a wild animal. Now to side into his hands. Shit. I'm sorry, Naruto. I'm sorry we took that away from you in return for saving my life as a baby, and I can't really be mad. I mean, I'm annoyed that you knew and never told me, but I think I can understand your reaction better than I would have as a kid. Naruto shook his head. It just sucks. I know. Minato wrapped an arm around his son's shoulder and pulled him in for a side hug. After a moment in the embrace, Naruto finally spoke again. Your mother felt so guilty at that first day. Naruto sat up and looked at him oddly as Minato stared ahead. His eyes focused elsewhere on an image he would never forget. She felt bad because we had activated your aura so young that we might have stuck you on a path filled with danger and threats instead of one where you could have been anything. She felt guilty that you were born of honest in a world that still can't seem to get it right. She felt guilty that you might never be able to control your semblance, forever lose the chance to control that piece of you. But most of all, she felt guilty because hunting. I can't care about any of that. I brought him into this world with all of those things to weigh him down, and I couldn't give a damn about a single one right now. Minato stared in awe at the watery smile she gave as she curled the boy bundled in blankets at her chest. Her eyes heavy and rimmed red, but she continued to smile and keep her sobs barely manageable as she pressed her cheek to her newborn's. He's ours. Oh my God, Minato, he's actually ours. He's so tiny, and his breathing is so light, but when he cries, he shakes the whole world. There's still so much he can do, and he's not even a day old. Krishna, I love you, she muttered, her tears finally spilling over and running into the baby's blanket. I love you, Naruto. Hunting. Minato smiled fondly at the memory that he held special in his heart, and if there was a sniffling and stifling sob to his side, then it was probably just his imagination. Dad, yeah. I miss her. Minato tightened the arm around his boy's shoulder. Me too. I'm gonna go get her back. If it's the last thing I do, I'll bring her home. Yeah, me too. Extra. Taste may vary. The large group of friends sat together in the cafeteria and discussed a variety of different subjects and topics. However, while they did that, the resident cat fawness enjoyed her moment of solitude, a steaming cup of tea to the side, while her eyes roamed over the pages of her current book. At this rate, she might just finish it before the end of the day. Hello, little lady. Of course, was she expecting a peaceful evening to read? Silly Blake. This was Beacon. Something was always going to interrupt her quiet reading time. Blake struggled to stop her eyes from visibly rolling as she lowered her book and looked at the white-haired toad seated across from her. The elder councilman gave a smug grin as he looked at her and sent an unsettling chill up her back. Your name is Belladonna, right? Yes. Blake nodded and aired her eyes suspiciously. Why does that matter? It doesn't. Just find it amusing is all. He chuckled. The name's Jirai, and I heard you are a bit of a bookworm with some particular tastes. Find out who ratted her out, find them, and make them suffer. Her gaze landed on two blondes, particularly who might have let it slip, and watched them freeze and shiver under her icy glare. I suppose I do have some broader taste. Code language. I get it. Jirai nodded sagely and winked before his expression became deadly serious. So let me ask you little lady, what do you know about a book series called Makeup Paradise? Blake's bow is still to top her head as an elegant eyebrow perched upwards. Why do you ask? Just if you had any copies, I wouldn't mind signing them. Jiraiya looked at his nails nonchalantly before smirking. Not every day you get to sit across from the author of one of the most acclaimed and well-written romance novels of all times. It's an honor, sir. Blake fixed her stature and nodded graciously to the older man. I didn't know you were the great writer, P. Charming. Well, I have to use a pseudonym to protect my everyday image. I might get sworn by all my adoring fans if they knew my real name. It's the cost of being the greatest author of all time. Well, I wouldn't go that far. Excuse you. I'm just saying that while Makeup Paradise is certainly an incredible series, it isn't the only one revolutionary in the genre. There were many other stories made of the same quality, and there are some that draw the people taste more than Makeup Paradise. No offense. Jiraiya's face stilled as he gave a very terse nod. He then lurched forward and snatched the book off of Blake's hand before she realized it. The girl gave a hiss and tried to grab it back, but Jiraiya had already removed the false cover over it. Ninjas of Love, huh? You know, this is just a derived knockoff of my series, right? They saw what I was doing years before them and just changed some things around. Blake snatched her book back and he held it close to her breast while her cheeks burned red with mortification. Don't say that. You can't just deride this series and say it's copying you because it shares some of the themes. By that logic, you just copied from every writer that did something close to your work before you. If anything, I perfected what they started. Jorah argued his demeanor becoming much rougher and his voice much more stern as he glared back at the cats across from him. He raised his voice again. All I know is that you're settling down with the baby edition of my series. Take that back. This story has far better themes, more genuine character sequence of danger, and plights of emotions that your pose could ever hope to match. Ha! Like that's the reason you read it. Face it, kid. My story has far better love scenes than your drivel does. Blake's face burned for a different reason now, as she pouted at the gloating old man. Your precious little book wishes it was as hot as mine. It might not match yours in depth description, but the love scenes are far more personal and intimate. Lemon terms for boring and lame. Blake scowled and shook with anger as Jiraiya cackled. Sorry, little girl, but there's just no competition. My writing comes from experience. Everything the main character has done, I've done in real life. Oh, does that include all the faking? Jiraiya's eyes opened and blinked slowly before he turned to the girl who had stopped blushing and only regarded him with a detached boredom, his mouth opening closer without a word passing by. Beg pardon. It's about all the dialogue and word choices the females use after they're finished. It's some of the most cliche and obvious lines they could use to assuage their lovers' feelings. Blake gave a small scoff. Honestly, for someone so versed in the ways you brag about, I would have thought you'd know to doubt when your partner says, "Oh, I got there. Definitely got there. Such a shame. You have no idea what you're talking about." The toad stuttered as his eyes started darting around and swimming in his head. I've had years of experience. All the women I've been with have told me I'm the best they've ever had. All of them have said you're the best they've ever had. Blake repeated skeptically. Well, I hate to break it to you, but the sound of it, you've never helped them get there. Not once. No. Jiraiya hunched over, gripping his head tightly as his eyes started to water and his voice crackled. This can't be happening. My knowledge about sex and application of it in my books, it's one of my defining character traits. Without it, I'm nothing. What is Jiraiya if not a master pervert? What am I if not an author who draws on his own experience to write his stories? If my experiences have been fake and I've been deluded myself, what does that say about my books? What does that say about me? Ah! Don't worry, it's not so bad. You can use this mental breakdown and complete destruction of your status quo to develop your character in new ways. You are the world's greatest writer, after all. Blake flicked her hair back and stood out of her seat as the older man started to weep and hiding his arms. When she stood up, she noticed the looks of surprise not just from her friends, but from others in the cafeteria as well. A light hue filled her cheeks, but instead of cowering, she announced, "That's right, I just defended my smut, and if anyone has something to say about it, just know I completely destroyed this man's perception of his own life and sent him into an existential spiral with which there is no return. So do it at your own risk." The cafeteria was silent besides the quiet weeping of Jiraiya and his destroyed psyche. Yeah, didn't think so. Blake strolled out of the door, her heels clicking against the floor before she slammed them shut behind her. Okay. Yank hesitated before looking around. Was anyone else turned on by that? Many hands raised, not all of them male. So, not just me. What is my life now? Ugh. End of chapter 62.